Hey there, and welcome back to this audio series named The Foundational Movement Patterns. I'm Harris Benjamin, and this is part 6, where we're going to go over the 5th movement category. Remember, part 1 was just an overview of this entire series, and then each subsequent part was a different movement category. So today, we're going to be going over the upper body pull. If you listen to the last episode, that was the upper body push, which is where you're pressing or pushing anything away from you with your arms, right? Push-ups, bench press variations, overhead press variations, etc. Today is the reverse, the upper body pull. That is where you're pulling things towards you with your hands, right? So pull-ups, cable pull-down variations, row variations, right, where you're doing a dumbbell row or a kettlebell row or a barbell row of sorts, cable rows, lots of rows, right? You have pull apart. So if you're holding a band in front of you and you're pulling that, back and forth, anything again where you are working that upper back part of your body, essentially, and you are pulling things towards you is going to be the upper body pull. So this movement category is unique because it's something that so many of us neglect in our lives, right? Even if we're actually training. Right, that's the interesting part. So, right, there's many people, unfortunately, who don't train at all. And if you're one of them, this is my goal, is for you to become somebody who trains consistently, right? In whatever way that's going to mean, but consistently training your body for better strength, resiliency, range of motion, and all of that good stuff. But when you look at the, I would say, somewhat majority of people who do train, right? Whether it's really consistently or a little bit, if you look at their programming, if you look at what they're actually doing in their workouts, I am willing to bet quite a bit that the majority of them are doing not enough upper body pulling, or maybe not even any at all, right? Which is a little rare, but it's definitely true, right? Those classic gym bro examples that you might have heard of, people who just do bench press all day long, no legs, no pulls or anything. Again, that's extreme, but it's out there. But for the more general public, right, people who are maybe wanting to be more consistent, or they like exercise in some way, but they're trying to figure it out, or they're really into training, but they just want to know what the proper way to do it is, you need to be doing upper body pulling movements very consistently. And if you did listen again to the last part of this at the end of part 4, the upper body push episode, I told you that there'd be a little bit of a bonus tip in this one for the upper body pull. So here it is. Specifically, you should be doing at the very least equal upper body pulling and pushing. But I would say if you had to pick, for most people, aim to do even more upper body pulling volume, right? So overall work throughout the week than upper body pushing each week, right? You should be doing equal, if not more, pulling than you're doing pushing each week. The reason is that the way we as humans use our bodies almost always is using those front upper body muscles more, right? Right now, I'm making this podcast, right? It's 7 a.m. on a Saturday. I'm a little bit hunched over. I'm trying not to be, but the microphone's a little bit low, so I kind of have to be in order to speak into it. But I'm a little bit hunched over, not much, but I'm sitting at a table, and again, my arms are in front of me. My head is a little bit protruded forward to reach to the mic. All of these front muscles are more engaged, right? Everything is kind of crunched and leaning forward. When we sit in a desk at work, when we sit in a car seat, not a car seat like for children, but when we sit in the seat of our car, when we walk, right, we're walking forward pretty much all the time. When we do almost anything, we're going in this forward direction or sitting in this front-facing direction. So the muscles of the back, right, all the way down the backside, right, the legs and the upper body, but let's focus on the upper body today, are being neglected, right? The low back muscles, the mid back, upper back muscles, and all of those capacities, the back of the shoulders, even the back of the neck, right? That stuff is not being strengthened nearly as much as it should be, and it's being underutilized. So how can we counteract that a little bit and have a better health throughout our neck, our shoulders, our spine, as well as have the aesthetics and have a really good, strong, muscular, shapely looking back, right? Whether you're a man or woman, we want an aesthetic looking back and a healthy back as well as a whole body. That's by doing quality upper body pulling work. So again, if you're in a full gym, right, you can do all these variations. You can do rows, you can do pull downs, you can do pull-ups. Let me go on a quick side note here. The pull-up is an interesting one, right? Because that's an incredible upper body pulling exercise, but it is, again, like the push-up that we alluded to in the previous episode, it's much more complex than a lot of people realize, and it is a very tough exercise for a lot of people, right? For everyone. I mean, pull-ups are hard for all people unless you're, I'll say everybody, right? At some point, pull-ups are hard for everyone that was learning them. But again, the vast majority of people struggle with pull-ups, maybe a little bit, right? Maybe they can only do a couple, maybe they're kind of ugly, or, right, again, in even more cases, most people cannot even come close to doing one pull-up, not even close, which is okay, right? That was me when I was starting, but that's the way that it is because it's such a heavy movement to pull your entire body weight with your arms over this bar. So that one, again, I'm not going to get into the weeds in this series on specific exercise variations and progressions and regressions and all that, but find a variation. There are many that you can do well if you want to build your pull-up, as you should, and work towards it, right? Ask me for help, and I will let you know what that might look like. But more realistically, in most cases, let's say you're training from home, like my clients do most of the time, you are going to want mostly row variations and even pull-down variations over your head. So any sort of dumbbell row, kettlebell row, right? If you're not sure what these things are, as with anything in the series, go to my YouTube channel, Coach by Harris, and you can just search different exercises. You can start to get exposed to what they look like, which is super important. And you can see the names of everything. And again, ask me, and I shall let you be my apprentice, and I'll teach you. So the upper body pull is super important. I'm going to keep this episode very brief. But rows, pull-ups, pull-downs, all of those movements are incredible, and I want you to be doing equal, if not more, volume, right? Volume is like the total accumulative sets and reps and work that you do with exercise. Equal, if not more, on your upper body pulling movements. So a final detail on that, right? That doesn't mean you need to be doing like so many extra super heavy sets throughout the week and overthinking. I don't want you to worry about all of that detail right yet, right? But you can always do a little bit extra. So one of my very, very, very favorite ways to get an extra volume for the upper body pulling category in a safe way, in a very convenient way, and in a way that you can actually recover from really well, so you don't feel like you have to do all this extra heavy work without, sorry, I'm going on a tangent. It's early. It's 7 a.m. still on a Saturday. Anyways, the band pull apart is one of my very favorite movements for this, okay? So resistance bands are incredible. They're incredibly valuable for traveling, for home exercises. They weigh almost nothing. They can fit into your pocket quite literally if you needed them to. They wrap up into a little ball. They are very strong if you get a good quality. And you can do lots and lots of reps on the band pull apart, probably daily, right? I would say that could even be a great idea for a lot of people. You can do them as much as daily, maybe even more, right? And still recover really well because there's not a lot of joint stress or heavy load on them. They're very light and smooth, but they burn like an SOB, right? They burn a lot. So the bands that I recommend are ones that are fully connected loops, right? They're not like the bands with two different handles, or those mini bands that go around your hips. No, we're talking about a fully connected loop, and the size of the band needs to be larger, right? So it's not like a little hip band or something like that. I think the ones that I use are specifically 41 inches in length, and that's like the band connected, right, is 41 inches in length. But there are links that I have for different bands that are incredible for this. Very simple, very cheap, very easy to order and have. So again, email me, harris@coachbyharris.com anytime if you want links for these bands, if you have questions or anything else. Share this with your friends, your family. I would love for them to hear this series. We're almost near the end. Thank you for listening today. And in the next and final movement category, we're going to go over the walking carry, the weighted carry, the loaded carry, right? Anything where you are walking with some sort of added resistance. This one is one of my favorites. You're going to like this. It's very unique. It's very fun to do, and it has unbelievable benefits that I think you'll love to hear about. So join me in the next part. Have a great day. Thanks for listening.